Hello, and welcome to Things We Learned This Week, a show about research, facts, and combating the apparent human need to make shit up. I'm your co-host, Jacob Morrow.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, and I'm your co-host, Charlie Bonk.
Whoa, you're not Jordan. Who are you?
Surprise. I'm Jake's roommate.
Who's roommate? Who's Jake? I am Jacob. Me amo Hiko.
Oh, good God.
But yes, this is my roommate Charlie, and he will be joining us for this episode instead of Jordan, because Jordan seems to have been very busy this winter, and he's just not going to be able to be on this episode.
Sad day.
So, yeah, sad day. So
You get me instead.
Yeah. How's your week been going, Charlie?
It's been going pretty okay. Break's over almost, and I'm glad about that.
Me too, fam. I have actually been having a shit week.
I'm
That I
sorry.
would do it. Well, my phone.
Oh, yeah.
So I have an iPhone 7, and apparently, where I had past tense, apparently a problem that a lot of iPhone 7s have been having is something with the logic board just messes up. I don't know how to explain it. The computer dude at the computer store I took it to didn't know how to explain it either. But it's basically just Apple made a mistake with a new update they put out for it where it just won't install on it for some reason.
It's just like, nah.
It's just like, nah. And it's like, hey, you can send it into Apple if you wipe it and turn it into a brick. Oh, but also, once we find out that, and once we've completely bricked your phone, and we find out that it has the tiniest scratch up in the top right corner, we're going to tell you it will cost you $169 to fix it before we'll send it in.
Oh.
I was actually pissed. But I have my dad's 2008 Galaxy S3, or S6, whatever the hell this thing is. It's garbage. It's bad phone.
That's a brick.
This is a real brick. It's about the size of one, too.
Mm.
But, how was Christmas for you?
It was average. I just got drunk and passed out in a baby castle.
Respect.
As one does.
As one does. Was there like a ball pit in the baby castle?
No. You could have bought balls for it, but
balls is expensive.
You know it.
But yeah, so we have Charlie here today, and I think he's actually going to start out for us with his topic this week.
Alrighty.
So you go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
Alrighty, so this week I'm going to be talking about the good and the bad in Jurassic Park / World series.
Okay. Do you have a thesis statement for the title of your paper that you've written for this class?
No, not even close. Alright, so don't get me wrong.
TWLTW 101.
Shut up! I love the Jurassic Park series. I've read the books. I've seen all the movies. I literally want a dinosaur as a pet, as everyone honestly should. But
what dinosaur would you choose to have as a pet if you had to have it?
Probably well, see, my first instinct is a brontosaurus, except they get too big.
Yes, hello, I am an internet person, and now I'm going to tell you why that pick is wrong, because you'll never be able to store a brontosaurus in any conceivable way, and the amount of food that you need to feed it is way too much for any one person.
Anyways, over the break, I reread the first book super closely, and I realized all the major plot holes and issues with this series. Steven just went off with it. He's like, oh, good job, Michael. You wrote this amazing book now. Let me tell you something better.
No, let me tell you a better story on the big screen.
Exactly. So the first major book movie issue that's really, really obvious and breaks the laws of life and death is that in the second movie and book, The Lost World, Ian Malcolm, which is the math professor, yeah, and John Hammond, which is the old guy with the cane,
Yeah.
Both of them are in the movie, and then Malcolm makes it back for the book. However, Hammond dies to a pack of compies, and Malcolm, from the Tyrannosaurus attack, which everyone knows about in the movie, he dies from injuries from that, yet they're both alive, And this is mainly because fans and Universal really, really, really liked the original, and they wanted a second novel and a movie of that. And Crichton did what he had to do, and he felt the only way he could make a sequel is having Malcolm in it.
Bringing those characters back from the dead.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if they can bring dinosaurs back from the dead, they could have just gotten some DNA from a science boy and made a new one.
Exactly. Just gotten DNA, cloned them. They're like, hold on.
These are new boys.
We've got to wait till Hammond gets to his 70s and Malcolm gets to his, 40s?
That's what they don't tell you about JP2 is it takes place in the far future. That's why they're building another Jurassic Park even after the last one was a big fuck up.
Exactly. And then another thing that the movie series as a whole really, really, really needs to stop doing. And Universal, if you're hearing me, take some advice.
Hello, John Universal. Listen to me now. Charlie Bonk.
Stop referencing the original movie in later films. In the second film, the third film, and Jurassic World, the movie always has to stop and remind us about how awesome and great that first park was, as if we really needed a reminder. Like, especially whenever you stop and reflect upon the third movie, which, I mean, yikes. Not the best choice to remind me of how good the first one is to compare it to this pile of trash I'm watching.
Like, especially in how each of those movies, Steven Spielberg himself walks onto the screen halfway through the film and goes, let's all take 10 minutes to sit here in this dark movie theater and think about JP1.
Oh, rest in peace, JP1.
Rest in peace, JP1. All right, back to the show.
Exactly.
Then he's immediately eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's really sad.
I mean, not always Tyrannosaurus Rex. Speaking of the third movie, why did they choose the Spinosaurus? Like, I understand Mrs. and Mr. Rex can sometimes get a little bit of rinse and repeat, you know?
It's the big boy.
First one, second one. The second one, they had 3 T-Rexes, so I mean, like...
Wait. They increased the number of T-Rexes as the movies went on?
Well, just in the first 2.
Okay, so 1 has 1 T-Rex.
Yes, that we know.
2 have 2 T-Rexes?
2 has a male adult, a female adult, and then a baby.
It has 3. I was just thinking, like, in the writing room for JP2, they were like, all right, I know that everyone watched the first one for the T-Rex. Now, what if everyone will watch the second one? For both of them. Exactly. And then the third one rolled around and it was the exact same dude. And Steven was like, God, Mark, you're a fucking genius.
Sales increase as T-Rex numbers increase.
Just a direct correlation.
Jurassic Park 500.
That's
the entire park is just T-Rexes.
That's why that one movie, the Ready Player One didn't do very well because it only had the one T-Rex in
Exactly. But, like, I understand T-Rexes. The T-Rex was kind of getting used a little bit too much, and the Spinosaurus is the most kick-ass dinosaur to ever live. Except, like, they just dropped it in. They didn't give any backstory. They're like, oh, Isla Sorna? It obviously has a Spinosaurus, since we've never heard any word about that.
Okay.
Yet again, you have to remember, JP3, it got nominated for, like, Worst Actress, Worst Sequel or Remake, and it just was a horrible movie.
Those are still awards.
Yeah.
Any awards is good awards.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
As a bad award.
And then also, literally 90% or more of this movie was just dinosaur chase scenes. And I'm like, we get it. These dinosaurs are cool. Now, can we have some plot here? Come on, Universal. So Jurassic World. We're in the reboot now. They're like, you know, JP was real cool, you know. Mm-hmm. Let's just rinse and repeat what we already had.
Yeah, of course.
Make it new, cool, you know, for the younger generations, like they did with like Halloween, you know.
For the cool kid.
Yeah.
You know how in this I don't know what the dude from Halloween's name is. Michael Myers just rolls in on a skateboard. He's like,
I'm here to kill you.
I'm here to kill you.
But so that's just like a remake of it, and it really modernized everything, holograms, giant hamster balls. And I really, really, really loved the idea of the Indominus Rex because, like, it really took marketing and media to a core. If, in case you don't remember, the Indominus was, I guess, sponsored by Verizon.
No, wait. What?
Yeah, Verizon presents to you the Indominus Rex.
And now, brought to you by the people who brought you bad cellular service.
Exactly.
A giant murder machine.
A giant mix of murder machines.
Hello!
But,
we know you've been asking us for more cellular towers in better places, but instead, we made you a big-ass dinosaur to eat everyone who ever complains about us.
Exactly! And, on top of it, the entire movie is just, how can we throw in advertisements? It honestly looks like a Mercedes-Benz commercial anytime there's a car on the screen. It's hilarious. But
especially that one time in the middle of a scene where Chris Pratt's hiding from a dinosaur. He reaches down and he picks up a Coca-Cola. He puts it up to the camera, takes a sip, he goes, Coca-Cola!
Oh my god.
And then the scene continues.
You gotta get money somehow.
I mean, yeah.
But, for real, Universal, listen to me. Did you not learn from the Spinosaurus? You're literally killing me. Stop bringing in new dinosaurs, especially ones that don't exist. But you guys lucked out. The I-Rex is really kick-ass. I love it so much. Except, here's also where the cool parts of Jurassic World ends. If, honestly, Jake.
Go ahead.
If I get reminded of how much of a sexy badass Chris Pratt is one more time, I'm going to go crazy. Colin, the director, right? Listen, Colin. I get it. Chris Pratt's cool.
I get it.
Let's move on.
I get it, Colin. I'm also horny for the Pratt.
Exactly.
But I don't need so much of him.
Also, Zara, who's the nanny for the two boys, gets ate by the Mosasaurus, which, may I remind you, isn't a dinosaur. Okay, it's just a prehistoric fish. But the movie calls it a dinosaur so much, so it can just, might as well be a dinosaur. And she gets ate by it, and it gives us the first confirmed woman death in the entire series.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that, the horror trope is that, women are always the ones who are getting murdered by, that's weird. I mean, but at the same time, though, I do kind of love Jurassic Park as this, showcase of watch bad men get eaten alive by big reptiles.
And, another thing is, you have to think about it. There's not many female characters. In the first movie, there's Lex and
the daughter. Or is that who Lex is?
That's who Lex is.
It's been a hot minute.
And Ellie.
And the romantic interest of the main character.
Yeah, Ellie Sadler.
Okay.
My queen. Ugh. And then in the second movie, it's just the ex-wife and the daughter. And then in the third movie, it's just the wife. And finally in JW, we get all these female characters thrown into the movie. And they're like, we have some to spare now. Let's
kill them all.
Let's off one off.
Jesus.
Also, Universal, listen to me. Dinosaur chase scenes are not plot. We get it. You wanted to make Chris Pratt look like a total badass riding through the jungle on a motorcycle, which, okay, choices. Don't really know how he can do that, but running through it with some velociraptors, it's not plot. You're just marching into battle, and there's so much chasing in this movie. Just do plot, please. Except this all being said, it reminds us all the best theme of the entire series. Women are powerful and kick ass and need to be paid respect. As Laura Dean, who plays Ellie Sattler in the first movie, states, dinosaur eats man, women, blah, blah, blah.
Try again.
Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth. Seeing all of these like female dinosaurs just slaughtering men is such great fun. And it really fights the idea of the patriarchy. Like,
Yeah.
yes, kill these men. They deserve it.
I mean, all right. I respect.
This has been an adrenaline-induced script that started with a book and ended with feminism, as all topics should.
You didn't restate your thesis in your conclusion, and now I'm gonna have to take 40 points off.
Okay.
But okay, hell yeah. I think right now, while we're on recording, so that everyone can hear you murder me, is a really good time for me to say that I've only ever seen Jurassic Park 1.
Well, I mean, you're not missing much.
Aw. But really, though, like, it is a fantastic movie.
It's such a great movie.
Just a really
It's
good
a great
movie.
series, even with JP3 in there. Like, if you look at the Rotten Tomato scores, it's like 90, 80, 50. It's such a jump.
But I mean, that's just how it is. Okay, so now it is Wikipedia article time. So, how this is going to work from here on out is I'm going to give Charlie his Wikipedia article, and then he's going to give me mine, and then I'll do my topic, just to kind of put it in more of an act structure. So, this is Act 2. I hope you got your popcorn in between Act 1 and 2, and you're seated and ready, and your phone is turned off, Jared, you piece of shit. Your phone's always going off.
Jared just came for a good time. He didn't mean any harm.
Fuck you, Jared. But okay.
Alright, I'm ready.
All
Wish me
right.
luck.
So, your Wikipedia article is Alberto Gallineta.
Can I ask any questions, or
Sure.
just go with it?
You can just go with it, or you could ask me. You
I
get one
just want
question.
to double check.
You get one question.
It's a person, right?
It's a human being.
Okay, Alberto.
Mhm.
He was a religious leader,
Okay.
war vet, and eventually president of Argentina.
Okay.
And he really, in the 1800s, he led the revolt against Spanish Inquisition, and really
Nobody expects them.
what, the Spaniards in South America? Get out of here! But yeah, nobody would ever expect that. But he really led the fight against the Spaniards, who were just trying to mine their precious diamonds, since those are in South America now.
Heck yeah.
You know, and so later on in life, he decided, I should really show my love of my people. And so he founded a zoo.
Okay.
And it's found in the capital
Of Argentina, which
Argentina.
Which is?
A good question.
Is it not Rio?
No.
Where's that?
Rio's in Brazil. I think it's
No, wait. No, it's
Sao Paulo?
I have no idea.
Capital.
Live on Things We Learned.
Buenos Aires!
Yes.
Ah!
That's right. Live on Things We Learned this week, we learn things.
The capital of
Argentina.
Santiago.
Santiago.
Okay.
But yeah.
So yeah, that's and he died out on sea.
What
he
year?
was 1912.
Okay.
The end.
The end. So, would you like to know who Alberto really was?
Absolutely.
Well,
I just told you who he actually was.
You were kind of in the right
Oh.
area with Spanish. He was Italian.
Okay.
That's where you get the eta from. He was Italian.
Okay.
That's more of an Italian prefix than a Spanish one, I would think.
I also suck at everything.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, Alberto Gallineta or Gallineta. I don't know.
Yep. You're not Italian. Continue.
I'm not Italian. I tried. I see 2 L's and my body just goes like, that's a Y sound. But yeah, He was an Italian football player who is a goalkeeper.
Oh, wig.
Yeah, it was born in 1992. He's 26 years old, and judging by the fact that he is a football player, he's probably pretty hot.
Yeah.
I am going to look up a picture of Alberto.
Oh, so he's still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Oh.
I was going to try to see if you would say that he died the same year. Oh my god!
Zaddy.
Oh my god! He's kind of hot.
Not kind of, very.
He's pretty hot. Alright. Interesting. So, I will take my Wikipedia article now.
Okay.
If I could.
I don't know, can you? Oh! Okay. So your Wikipedia article.
Mm-hmm.
Tigers of Wrath, Horses of Instruction.
Tigers of Wrath, Horses of Instruction.
Yes.
That's that new George R.R. Martin book. The new Game of Thrones novel that just came out.
Oh. Okay.
Where Jon Snow, he falls in love with the horse. And him and the horse, whose name is Craig, they fight a lot of lions.
Oh, okay.
Because they had a slight against the lions when they decided that horses were the superior race to all beings.
Were the tigers full of wrath?
The tigers were absolutely full of wrath.
They were beaming out wrath.
Yes. What were the horses?
Instruction.
Instruction. Oh, sorry. Yes. So Jon Snow falls in love with the horse, but the main thing that the horse does is it teaches him how to be a better man. Yes.
Would you like to know the truth?
What the fuck is this?
So Tigers of Wrath, Horses of Instruction is a monograph about the work of painter Walton Ford. Its title is from a quote by William Blake, and it includes an essay by the screenwriter Stephen Katz.
I didn't even know any of those names. That was nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I made them right.
I like that, though. Okay, so now we'll do my topic. This week, my topic, and I don't have as nice of a title as Charlie had, is just Warhammer 40,000, or Warhammer 40K, which is a miniature kind of battle simulator game by Games Workshop. So, before we even get to... This is kind of a history of Warhammer 40K as a game.
Okay.
So before we even get to any games that are called Warhammer, we first have this game called Laser Burn that was made in 1980. That was written... The rules were written by this dude named Brian Ansell. And it was also a, skirmish battle game using these, little, 15mm miniatures. And it also featured prominently one of the factions that we see now in Warhammer 40k called the Imperium of Man, who is basically just the human faction based around this, an emperor human being who's just hello, I'm the king.
Like Skyrim?
Yeah, kind of like Skyrim, okay. Yeah. It also introduced the idea of, soldiers wearing power armor being just, huge, plated, knight-looking dudes, right?
Like Skyrim, but mixed with Halo.
Yeah, it's basically Halo. It's Halo, yeah. So, and then after that game comes, around the same time, comes a game by Games Workshop, the people who make 40k, called Spacefarers, which is also a skirmish battle game, but the rules were just hella different. They weren't even close to what we see nowadays.
Here's this, and here's what it is now, and they're just, left and right.
What are these? So then, in 1983, in 1983, Games Workshop comes out with a game called Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which is kind of what 40k is based off of. Basically, it's just a fantasy game with factions and races based off of Tolkien, like elves and dwarves and orcs and human knights. But with some fun stuff that they added to themselves.
Okay.
One of my favorites is the Skaven, who are just rat people.
I mean, same.
They're hello, we are rats.
Oh, are they human size or rat size?
They're human sized. They're human sized rat people.
Oh,
They're part of what brought about the apocalypse. There are these really cool games based in that world called Vermintide, where it's just this wave after wave of these rat people are swarming the world. It's really cool. There's also a faction called the Lizard Men, who are, you guessed it, lizard men.
So, government leaders?
Yes.
So basically what you're telling me is...
Congress.
This is Dungeons and Dragons, but with dolls.
Yeah.
Go on.
Go off.
I'm interested.
So, and then after that, in 1987, comes the first Warhammer 40k game called Rogue Trader. So it was based off of Warhammer, like the rules, but it was set in the far future. It also used Tolkien races as factions like elves and orcs and the knights, but gave each of them like a sci-fi twist, making the elves into a faction called the Eldar, who were these super ancient dudes, and they're mostly, like, there's not very many of them left, but they have this, like, amazing technology, making the dwarves into these, like, spore-based fungus beings that are dumb as shit, but, like, look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They're just beef. And then turning the knights into space marines, who are just huge dudes with power armor wielding laser cannons and grenade launchers.
Okay.
Yeah. So this version even included dwarves in the form of a race called squats, but they were really quickly dropped because they just didn't quite fit the aesthetic.
They're like, no.
Well, because elves, you can kind of be like, well, they have long ears and they can have, like, blue skin. So, like, we can make them look different, but squats are just little humans with red beards.
Like, there's nothing you can do to modernize it, really.
No, it's kind of hard to make them into, like, a future setting. Along with it being based off of Warhammer, it was a lot more similar to the rules that Warhammer had at that time, in the way that it was more of a role-playing game than being a game where you had models and fought. So you would roll to see how good your troops are. Mm-hmm. Like, you would roll stats for your troops as though you were rolling for your character in D&D. So, like, you would roll how good their perception is and how much strength they have. Along with that, instead of just having how it is now where you have 2 players or 3 players playing against each other, this game had, like, a dungeon master type person who would stand over and watch the game and make sure that it was going through fine. So you would have 2 people who are fighting, and then God standing there just like, yes.
This is okay, but Jimmy, stop fucking around.
Quit fucking around, Jimmy. So in 1993, the game received its second edition, with rules that were mirroring a similar update that Warhammer Fantasy got the year before, changing the role-playing mechanics to ones that matched more with what we see today, with each faction having this, like, static list of troops that you choose and pick from to make up your army. It also added some new factions, like the Tyranids, who are these, like, giant bug monsters that want to eat everything, and Chaos, who are these followers of, like, unknowable gods and demons that are created from the thoughts and emotions of the universe, which are, you know, in a universe...
Probably not good.
A universe mostly consumed by war aren't very good thoughts and emotions.
Probably not. Okay, so wait. So, Warhammer 40k is going on.
Yeah.
And then off to the side, Warhammer Fantasy still going on?
Yes, it's still going on.
Okay, so there's like 2 different paths.
There's 2 different. So Warhammer Fantasy just continues treading on its own, and almost alongside it is 40k until we get to closer to today, where they actually, like, ended Warhammer. Like, Warhammer Fantasy is ended now.
Yeah,
like, they finished the story, and so they're like, yep, Warhammer Fantasy isn't a game anymore. Now it's called Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and it's just kind of like a game without a story, or at least that's as far as I know. Is it doesn't really have, like, as much like story based, like, progression, right? Because, like, as far as the story goes, as the story progresses, you see more stuff get added in. Yeah. But anyway,
makes sense.
So 5 years later, as we see, like, this game gets more popular and popular, it gets updated more often. The game receives another update into its 3rd edition, where a lot of the rules that made the game overly complicated, like this rule where you had to have cards, like you would buy, like, card packs, like Magic, that represented these, like, special items that you could give to your soldiers. They cut that out because, obviously, like, hello,
expensive figures plus expensive cards equals no one can play.
Yes, exactly. And it also just made the game a lot easier, which opened it up to a younger audience and generally just widened the player base. This is also the time when the game's story really started to move toward what we see today as well, which is kind of ironic when you look at how they were trying to open the game up to younger people. So the focus started turning away from, like, not favoring any faction and kind of just looking down from above at, like, all of these people squabbling over their own issues, and more started focusing on the Imperium of Man's perspective, so kind of following what the humans were doing, as well as making the story having a darker tone. Yeah. So instead of the Imperium being this, like, you know, hi, we're the good guys. Yeah. It turned them into these, like, fascist, xenophobic,
an
empire, a dictatorship, because like that's how corrupt the universe and the government was getting in the universe because of how bad shit was. So that's kind of what you see is like as shit gets worse and worse in the story, everything gets just a lot darker. And then they're like, "Hey kids,
hey, welcome to it's called we're calling it Warhammer, but in reality, it's just a life simulator."
Yes, it's life simulator in a bad place. Some new races were also added in this edition, like the Necrons, who are these like ancient robot Egyptian type, like Egyptian stylized dudes.
Sounds about right.
So they're like waking up from their just like millennia long slumber to take back the universe.
That's a fat nap.
Yes. And then also they added the Tau, who are like basically fish communists.
I mean,
yeah.
Go on.
To this day, they're pretty much the lightest part of 40k lore because they're just kind of these. They're super happy. Like they're the only people who don't genuinely seem like they're constantly suffering on a daily basis.
I mean,
so
they've just accepted the death. They're like, let's just have the best we can.
Well, what the story there is, to jump into it really fast, is like the place where their planet was, right, or like where all their planets were, right, got covered up by this big like space storm, so that no one could get there for a really long time, and time was like sped up by the storm. And then when the storm went away, they were just kind of sitting there like, "Hi, we have super advanced technology now. Who are you people?" And then everyone started dying, and they were like, "We don't like you people no more." So basically, they're the only race whose members are either literally mindless bugs, or they're not working 16-hour shifts at the corpse starch factory making food out of just whatever dead shit someone found lying around the city. That's made up of like billions upon billions of people on one planet or on one side of a planet. Or just not constantly having to punch another big green guy that looks like you in the face so you can take his teeth and sell them to the mech boys to fix your bike. The world sucks.
Welcome, children.
Welcome, children. This place sucks.
We're getting you ready for real life.
We're getting you ready for what it's like to live in the real world. So, 4th and 5th edition, which came after this, are tied pretty closely together, as they were both built to be like compatible with each other, so that Games Workshop wouldn't have to make new army lists for each of them twice in the years where they were released. They were released in 2004 and 2008, so since they were so close, they were like, well, let's just not make new ones every 4 years. The only major addition that they added was in 5th edition, with the addition of this rule called Line of Sight, where you would like have to literally get down to where your model was standing and see what he could see, and that's what he could shoot.
Yeah, makes sense.
So making the game feel a little bit more like you're commanding real dudes. Yeah. Following 5th edition was, you guessed it, 7th edition. 6th edition was a real thing, and it was released in 2012, but literally like not even 2 years later, 7th edition was released because 6th edition was not good. So it just didn't really have a lot of impact with folks who mostly just stuck with 5 because 6 wasn't very good. The rulebook for 7th edition was the first to be split up into a bunch of different books based off of different parts of the hobby. So one was devoted to like collecting shit, like collecting the miniatures and painting
miniatures
them.
Are shit.
No, they look so good. Another one was devoted to like the story, and then another one was the one that was made for playing the game. It also added a bunch of new armies like Chaos Demons, so you could literally like play the demons themselves instead of just the followers, and Imperial Knights, who are these just like big titanic robots whose models cost a lot, both in like the game's army point system, like to keep the matches fair, and also in real life because the models are just so fucking big.
And have you had to paint the models the entire time?
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, originally in like Rogue Trader, they were cardboard cutouts.
Okay,
that you just kind of like put together, like you had like a little cardboard stand and then the cardboard dude that would go down into
pencil, add some details.
Yes. Now they're plastic bits, and they come in these like trays, and you have to cut them out with an X-Acto knife and glue them together.
Very child friendly.
They're very child friendly, all with all sorts of tiny pieces for them to not swallow,
and not like an X-Acto blade,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. 5-year-old Timmy's got this.
Yes, he got it. So the current edition is 8th, and it was released in 2017, and it added a bunch of new rules how to opening up different ways to play. It added 3 specifically that are called narrative play, open play, and matched play. Narrative play is based around recreating battles from like the books and from the story with your own army against another person, so that you and your friends can sit around and like redo these like battles and see how they would have gone. Open play is made for like, hi, I have some miniatures, want to sit down with me and play?
You want to play Magic the Gathering?
I want to play Magic the Gathering?
But with figures?
Oh, I'm having PTSD from when you kicked my ass that one time I asked you to play Magic with me.
Single time.
Charlie, if you play Magic, Charlie plays blue. That's all I have to say.
What's that supposed to
mean? You know what that means! Yeah. And then the third kind is third playing method is matched play, which is built to have more of like a competitive feel, where like you try to make sure that your armies are the same point value, so that the fight is even.
It's like let's make this a little more serious because not everybody just likes a free for all fuckfest.
Yes. Which mostly matched play was the only way that people played. People would play open play and narrative play, but they would have to make up their own rules. So this was basically just Games Workshop saying, "Hey, you're valid. Let's make some. Let's
Thank
make
you for
a
being
title.
creative. You know.
Thanks for being creative. Now here are some ways that you can try out that we've made that might work a little better for you. And I think that's cool.
Then just keep doing your own.
Yeah. So now we will move to today, where personally I have never played the damn game.
Nor have I.
Because 1, I'm too busy, which you might have heard in your head is lazy, and that might be true, to actually like finish painting my army. 2, I'm too poor to finish buying the models I need. And 3, the only game store in Lincoln, besides the Hobbytown USA that I just haven't managed to get out to yet, that's like the store that's close to me, is owned by this dude that's just flaming garbage.
Yeah.
He's just actual trash. Like, he's one of those like girls don't play games dude, and one of those like the gays are bad dude, and he can directly eat a trillion dicks.
So what you're saying is he's a virgin.
Yes. He's an actual asshole. Like he's such a dick. I don't ever want to go there ever again.
And I didn't mean to offend any virgins, I'm sorry.
No, I respect. I am talking about Warhammer 40k right now. Anyway. I do though really like putting the models together and painting them, since it's just so calming and nice to just be able to like sit there and just make a dude.
Yeah.
And sit there and just paint a little dude. It's just, they're fun.
Creativity.
Yeah. I mean, and since I'm a person who like can't really paint, like I'm not like an artsy person in that way where I can like paint on like a piece
canvas?
of paper or a canvas. Like that's just not something I can do very well. But yeah, I also just really love like the story in the world that like everyone has gotten together to like write about and make over time together. Like it's just so much fun. And there are just like people who make videos where they just talk about theories based off of all of the stuff that's already been written. It's just a really cool story. I'm not actually going to try and talk to you about the lore.
Yeah.
Because there is just so much of it, and I don't really like the idea of the story being completely focused on the Imperium of Man's perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they are shit.
Shocker.
Like, they come from a good place, but they're shit right now, and so I would like to see things brought back to more of an open stance.
Yeah. Like, instead of being kind of like, they're trying to make it a little, like, third-person focused. They should just make it omniscient, you know?
Yeah, they should just... Yeah, absolutely.
Here's what Dan, worshiper in the chaos, is thinking about...
This is Dan.
The current price of wheat.
This is Dan. He worships the god of decay. His stomach has been open for 400 months, but he's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine. His large intestine is wrapped around his neck, but he's doing great.
Absolutely. He just came here for a good time, and he's having it.
And he's having it. But yeah, I would like to see it brought back out to that perspective, because I think it'd be cool. But yeah, I am, though, going to link in the description this YouTube video from the Lore YouTube channel, right?
Absolutely.
That they make those minute-long lore videos of games and books sometimes. This one is voiced by the late great John Bain, who is known on the internet as Total Biscuit. He was actually the guy who introduced me to Warhammer 40k, just by like playing the games and talking about his love for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like when he passed, like I was really sad because I was like, shit, I'm not gonna get to like hear more about 40k from him. And like every time that I, paint figurines, I think about like, hey, I mean, I'm glad that I got to
experience it.
I'm glad that I got to love his work for as long as I did to get me into this hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I don't think I ever would have gotten into this hobby if I hadn't
had John Bain.
If I hadn't had Total Biscuit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, rest in peace and all that.
Rip.
But yeah. Oof. So that's it for me. And I think that's gonna be it for our show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, thanks to the beautiful Jasmine Frank for making our cover art. You can find more of her work at jasminelene.com or at jasmine.lene on Instagram. You can find me, Jacob, at Moorow, Moorow, on Twitter. You can't find me on Tumblr because I don't have Tumblr anymore. You can find the show as a whole at TWLT Podcast on Twitter, or you can email us at twltwpodcast@gmail.com. You can find all of our sources in the show notes. Charlie's is just...
Literally, if you want to know any of my sources, the book, it's great. You can find free audiobooks online, of course, and then just Wikipedia.
Hell yeah.
Like
the ultimate the ultimate in source.
If you want to know anything, Wikipedia.
Hell yeah. But okay, yeah, I think that's it for us. So thank you for coming on to the show, Charlie.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
I love you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.